we have major Hawks news as the Atlanta Hawks made a crazy lineup change right before the MLK Day game versus the New York Knicks. We also got to talk about the Atlanta Hawks in the national media, how they have actually risen to the occasion. And we're got to talk about Trae Young, how he has made the Atlanta Hawks where they are right now, how he has risen the level of competition. And I'm telling you right now, I am super excited. What's going on, everybody? My name is Walter Pollard, and welcome to Atlanta Hawks Digest. We're going to give you guys all the information, man, that you guys are looking for. Like I said, man, you know, the Atlanta Hawks, they made a major splash right before the MLK Day game. We're going to get into that. We got to talk about the national news and how that plays into a part. But let me go ahead and start with giving Trae Young his flowers. Let's go ahead and let's get a round of applause, because Trae Young is the third player in NBA history to record consecutive games with 5 or more assists. And that's the only players to ever do that was John Stockton and Isaiah Thomas. Those are the only two players. John Stockton had 336 games consecutive, and Isaiah Thomas had 209 games consecutive. So if you think about it, Trae needs about 10 more games to move into the number 2 spot, and I would say about 137 more games to get into the number 1 spot. But I feel as though he is the guy to do it. This year, he has definitely risen the level of competition for the Hawks, and we are here for it, because not only are the people in the Atlanta area starting to take notice, not only are the people in Atlanta starting to, get that itch, and really get excited for the Atlanta Hawks, but the national media, they're starting to pay attention, and they're starting to call the Atlanta Hawks a sleeper team going into the playoffs. So we definitely got to get into that. But before we do that, I want you guys to listen to Gilbert Arenas. Just give you guys detail as far as how Trae Young is definitely, raising the bar for the Hawks and how he plays a role in that.
When I was being called the ball hog, right? I went to the general managers like, you know what, I'm going to try to average 10 assists. Mm-hmm. So, I'm going to pass the ball a lot more. And then he said, how are you going to do that? And I said, I'm just not going to attack. Then he said, you're never going to average 10 assists. I was like, what? He said, passing the ball and creating shots is two different things. Mm-hmm. You can make 100 passes and get 5. If the guys you're passing it to are just certain type of players, no matter how you pass it, they don't get what...
I understand.
He said, so you have to be aggressive still with the idea of, instead of shooting it, make that pass.
Yes.
That's what he's great at.
Yes.
He's attacking 10 out of 10 times. Other guards don't understand the concept, right? They're like, I only took 20 shots, but when you wasn't shooting, what were you doing? So James, that's why James Harden has high assists. Yeah. That's why Russell Westbrook has high assists. Yeah. And even with John Stockton was in attack mode. J-Kid coming full speed at you. It's like I'm about to score. I make you play defense on me. You have to stop me. Once you, okay, now I can go. So there is really an art to it, and he's perfected it.
Yeah, I do believe Trae Young has perfected it, or is at least in the process of perfecting that. So yes, Gilbert Arenas is 100% right. If you think about it, Trae Young is definitely attacking on a consistent level. And I've mentioned it in videos prior how, if you've noticed the stat line where Trae Young, when his points are above 35 or more, let's say 28. Let's say 30 points or more. If Trae Young scores 30 points or more, his assists go down, which isn't a bad thing, because that lets me know that the teams are respecting the fact that he could dish it to other guys. And not only are they respecting that, they're respecting the other players around the team. You dig what I'm saying? And I'm talking about Jalen Johnson. We're talking about Onyeka Okongwu. We're talking about Zaccharie Risacher. We're talking about Dyson Daniels. The teams that we're playing are respecting the Hawks in general. And then when his points are down, his assists go up. And that's because teams that are making sure that he's the focus, that they focus on him and make sure that he doesn't beat them, he makes sure that Risacher makes the shot. He makes sure that Jalen Johnson makes the shot. He makes sure that Dyson Daniels is open for a layup or whatnot. Trae Young is starting to play mind control on a lot of these different teams, specifically the Knicks. I feel as though the rolling the dice on the logo definitely definitely put some mind control on them, unfortunately. Now, we did not get the win versus the Knicks on MLK Day. And I have my feelings regarding that because I feel as though the MLK Day game should have been in Atlanta. Okay, should be in Atlanta, just period. Regardless if there's a national championship, whatever. I feel as though the MLK Day game should always be in Atlanta. And Trae, and I would say Trae feels the same way. I would say the Hawks fans feel the same way. I feel as though because they weren't in Atlanta, they were unable to get the win, unfortunately. They were unable to take the 3-game win streak to 4, which is okay. We got another chance to start up another win streak tonight versus the Detroit Pistons, they're a pretty good team. They're a pretty good team. They're sitting behind us at 7 in the standings. So that lets me know that the Atlanta Hawks got some work to do, and they need to make sure that they ensure that they get the win tonight. Now, we talked about, I mentioned that the Atlanta Hawks are starting to show up in the national news and the national media. Okay. We mentioned that the Atlanta Hawks were snubbed for the MLK game. And then of course they missed an opportunity to gain a lot of the attention from the nation with a win. You dig what I'm saying? Against the New York Knicks. That would definitely send a message not only to the Knicks, but to the entire league that the Hawks ain't nothing to play with. But I feel as though the national media already know. Those in the media, they already know. Sir Charles Barkley, he even said how the Atlanta Hawks are a sleeper team, and he doesn't think that anybody would want to play them. You dig what I'm saying? He actually said it specifically. Well, this is my best impression of Charles. Well, I'll tell you. I'm just kidding. But he's saying that they're dangerous. And he basically said, believe it or not, the Atlanta Hawks, they're dangerous, and the Atlanta Hawks are going to be a sleeper team in the Eastern Conference. And I believe that also wholeheartedly. We can even go so far as looking at L. Duncan. L. Duncan, we all know from ESPN, had even spoke out and said that Trae Young has always been a great disher. And this is in regards to him getting the number one assist record. Well, not record, but he's the number one in assists in the NBA. But Trae Young has always been a great disher. But this year, everybody is making baskets too. I just mentioned that. I think they're really the surprise of the NBA, not just the Eastern Conference. Atlanta has sort of jokingly been known as a guaranteed play-in team. That hurts. But in this year, I think they have bigger aspirations. And then she goes on to even say, like anything else in life, you learn, you grow, and you get better and better. And she's talking again about Trae Young. I think for Trae, this is home, and this is in regards to the trade speculations. I think that it's been made clear that all of the trade rumors and all of the chatter that Trae Young wants out, Atlanta has a little bit of PTSD with really great talent. They tend to want to flee. And I do believe that, okay? I do believe that. I do believe that at times, they want to flee. They want to go, or it could be, differences between the organization and the specific superstar or whatnot. I even had a conversation with my dad when Trae Young just got into the league, and he swore me down. He said in 3 years, Trae Young is going to be gone, and he's going to play for another team. Specifically, he was hoping LA because he's a Laker fan. Needless to say, that was about 5 years ago, 5 or more years ago. So as you can see, he was thankfully wrong, but I was definitely scared going into the season as to whether or not he was going to try to jump ship, or I said that the Hawks needed to start fast, stay fast, and finish strong in order to ensure that Trae Young sticks with the Hawks. They've done that. He's raised the level of competition. Dyson Daniels has raised the level of competition on the defensive end. And we've also got a lot of supporting players that are definitely ensuring that the Hawks can do that. The only thing I feel could possibly make this deal even sweeter and possibly help the Hawks get even further is making a trade. So I want to play this audio for you also, where Lou Wills actually said something in regards to, you know, the trade deadline, how teams prepare for that. Y'all take a listen real quick.
I want you to start paying attention to this. If you're not playing the whole season, and then 2-3 weeks before trade deadline, he all of a sudden on the floor, he getting auditions. Somebody done called looking for him, and like, we want to see him. So they put him on the floor to play minutes to see if we can get him up out of here. Yeah.
Now, that ain't too far off. In that clip, he was talking about Patty Mills. If you guys remember, Patty Mills did play for the Atlanta Hawks for a very short time. We can even go so far as Rasheed Wallace. Do you guys remember that? The year that the Detroit Pistons won the championship versus the mighty Los Angeles Lakers, Rasheed Wallace was in Atlanta for one game. He literally came here for one game, and he played that one game. You dig what I'm saying? He was traded here and then traded to the Detroit Pistons. And I do feel as though that like he said, they're auditioning you. They're trying to audition you and trying to see what they can get from you. Now, I pointed out how Onyeka Okongwu broke into the starting lineup for the Atlanta Hawks, which is great. And that could go a few ways in regards to how Clint Capela plays into that role, because of course Clint Capela is or was the starting center for the Atlanta Hawks, and yet now he has been moved over for Onyeka Okongwu. Now this has always been the plan for the Atlanta Hawks, was to get Onyeka Okongwu, get him ready for the starting lineup. Onyeka Okongwu actually averages more minutes than Clint Capela. So again, we could possibly see that the Atlanta Hawks are getting him out of the way. And let's not forget, Clint Capela could also just be resting up or staying healthy so that he could also be traded away. You dig what I'm saying? I think I've narrowed it down from whom I think could possibly be on the move. You see that I've mentioned Larry Nance. You see that I've mentioned even DeAndre Hunter because of his great play off of the bench. I've mentioned Bogdan Bogdanović, which I still kind of lean towards him in a package deal with Clint Capela. I've even talked about Cody Zeller, who has not been with the Hawks. So in all honesty, I do feel as though Clint Capela could and might as well be on his way out. This is actually... CEO, the CEO of the Atlanta Hawks, Steve Quin, and he was also found in a statement saying, I think we're going to be long, we're going to be athletic, and we're going to be very young. And with Onyeka Okongwu breaking into the starting lineup, Trae Young then becomes the oldest starter on that team at 26 years old. Now, I point this out because the Atlanta Hawks are the 10th youngest team in the NBA. And that's with all of their different players. Trae Young is 26, Dyson Daniels, who's 21, Zaccharie Risacher, who's 19, Jalen Johnson, who's 23, and Big O that's 24 years old. Now, it's not uncommon that Clint Capela has drawn interest, because he has before, you know, prior to Karl Anthony Towns going to the New York Knicks. Clint Capela was also looked at to be headed to the New York Knicks. I would have preferred that he go to the New York Knicks, but that's besides the point. I still feel as though there could be a trade that will happen. I still feel as though there's a trade that possibly could happen. One of the trades that I definitely tend to lean towards is definitely the trade possibility between the Atlanta Hawks and the Utah Jazz, where we get Cody Zeller and Colin Sexton for Onyeka Okongwu and someone else. Because let's just put it honestly, the Jazz aren't really a team that's a win now, and I can see how they might want to offload a lot of the superstars or a lot of the money-taking guys that, you know, they could free up some money and possibly get some picks and possibly even get themselves in a position where they can make an advancement. So I'm definitely leaning towards that, but I wanted to point out the fact that Clint Capela definitely could be on his way out. And if you guys watched Hawks Digest last video, my man Chris Tipmore, let me get the name right. Chris Tipmore, he actually, you know, came out and spoke out how Onyeka Okongwu, He's the next man. He's the man. He's the next man up. You know, that's my phrase. He's the next man up. And Onyeka Okongwu has definitely shown himself to be where he is right now. I think he has, 6 like double doubles in like the last 6 games and stuff like that. He's definitely raised the bar on his end offensively. Defensively, yes. Defensively, Clint Capela definitely betters or is a little bit better than Onyeka Okongwu, but all around Onyeka Okongwu is just a tad bit better than Clint Capela, just in regards to points and getting certain points and things of that such. Now tonight, the Atlanta Hawks, they will be taking on the Detroit Pistons. As of right now, this is split down the middle. As a matter of fact, they have the Atlanta Hawks as an underdog. They have them as an underdog in the ESPN matchup predictor. So we can see now that this is going to be a tough game. Right now, the Pistons are 22-21, and the Hawks are 20-22. So this is a 7 and a 6. You dig what I'm saying? If you look at the standings right now, the Pistons are number 7, the Hawks are number 6. So this is going to be a really good game tonight. A really good game tonight, and I am excited for it. Just talking about the injuries and things of that such, right now, Trae Young is listed as probable. Zaccharie Risacher is still out. Jalen Johnson is also listed as probable, and Larry Nance is listed as out, along with Kobe Buffkin and Cody Zeller, of course. With Zaccharie Risacher, he will be reevaluated within a week. We already know that he was injured a couple of games ago. I think he has an adductor. An adductor injury. That's a lower leg injury. A lower extremity injury or whatnot. So we want to make sure that he's going to be in the best shape that he is. So with that, hopefully in the next week or so, Zaccharie Risacher can definitely return to the starting lineup and help these guys get better. Let's not forget, listen, we are literally dead smack in the middle of the season. The Hawks are 22-42. I'm sorry, 22-20. So that's 42 games. You dig what I'm saying? So we are in the middle of the season. And I do believe that the Atlanta Hawks can definitely make a push towards the playoffs. They can make a push. I mean, they can end up outside of the play-in tournament, like L. Duncan said. We've historically been listed as a play-in team, but no, not this time. We're going for it all, and I think they have better plans ahead. With all that being said, I can't wait for tonight. Hopefully the Atlanta Hawks can get the win, and we can definitely improve to 23-20. With all that being said, my name is Walter Pollard. Peace.